External sensors generally operate in two ways. Some are either on or off, such as this push-button switch or this proximity sensor, which turns on when something is close and turns off when it's not. But other sensors work through a range of values, gradually going from a minimum up to a maximum. For example, we've seen how our light-dependent resistor, also known as an LDR, goes from low readings for really dark up to high readings for really bright light. In my setup, it goes from around 80 up to 200, but yours might be slightly different. We've also seen how it can be helpful to know the normal working value for a sensor, which for our LDR would be the value it gives when it's in normal light conditions. Once we've got all this information available, we can use these values as thresholds across which our program will operate slightly differently. Let me show you what I mean. Here I've wired up my LDR to a powered crumble, connecting it to input A. I've also connected a sparkle, which I'm going to control using values from the LDR. What I'd like to do is to turn the sparkle on when it's dark, and turn it off when it's light. How do you think I'd do this? What programming blocks am I going to need? Well, I'm certainly going to need a program start block followed by a forever loop, as I want my program to run forever. I'm then going to need an if-else block to test to see if it's dark. If it is, it will make the sparkle light up, and if it isn't, it will turn the sparkle off. To test this, I need to compare the value from the LDR, which is coming into input A, with my known value for a dark environment. I need to see if it's darker than this value, and if it is, it must be dark and so the sparkle needs to be turned on. In my room, I know a reading of around 80 is given for fairly dark light, and 200 for really bright light. I also know that when using a tube as a light shield, a reading of around 175 is used for normal lighting conditions. So I'm going to test to see if the value on input A is less than, say, 130. That would mean it's a bit dark. To do this, I'll drag this less than block from the operators menu. This will return true if the first value is less than the second value. So the first value will be the value from the sensor, which is analog A. And the second value will be my threshold value, which we've decided is 130. So what am I going to do if this is true? Well, I want to light up my sparkle, so let's drag this in and set the colour to bright white. And what if it's false? Well, we'll turn the sparkle off. Right, we're now ready to test this out. As you can see, the sparkle isn't lighting up, but as my hand blocks out enough light, the sparkle turns on. Perfect. Of course, I don't have to stop there. What if I wanted my sparkle to flash a warning if it was too bright? I could easily add this with another if-else block. This time I'm going to test to see if the value from the sensor is greater than my threshold value. I know that in my room a reading of around 175 is used for normal lighting conditions, so I'm going to test to see if the value on input A is greater than, say, 200. Let's drag and drop the if-else block, placing it here, so it only runs if it's not bright. Then, from the operators menu, I'll drag a greater than block and place it here. This will return true if the first value is greater than the second. I'm testing to see if analog A is greater than 200. So what do I want to do if this is true? Well, I want my sparkle to flash red. I'll drag and drop a set all sparkles block, placing it here. I'll then use a random number generator to flicker between different amounts of red. And what if it's not true? What if the value from the sensor is neither lower than my first threshold or higher than my second threshold? Well, I want to turn the sparkle off, so I'll move this block and place it here. Okay, let's test it out. As you can see, in normal lighting conditions, the sparkle is off. If it gets dark, the sparkle lights up white, but if it's too bright, the sparkle flashes red as a warning. This could be a really great way of coding a sun cream warning system, where children are reminded to put sun cream on when it gets too sunny. Remember, the first thing we needed to know were the different values our sensor provided, for dark, bright and normal lighting conditions. This will be different depending upon your setup, so make sure you work out your own threshold values. We're then able to use these values with if-else statements to make different things happen in our program.